Thank you very much, Gabriel, or Gab as we know you, and I too will endorse your book as Reg did, a great read, and coming from a political background, I really enjoyed it. Sometimes a little bit of a wake-up call, I guess, which was good. Thanks for your welcome, Reg. It's always nice to be in Orange. Very pleasant experience, and thank you for your warm welcome. I am wearing two hats today, one big hat and one little hat. The big hat is that I'm Chair of Local Land Service, and I want to go through a number of initiatives that we've been undertaking in that space. My little hat is that I've been engaged in this issue for the last couple of years, and having spoken somewhat frankly on a few occasions, I keep getting asked back to reiterate my comments. So apart from trying to walk on eggshells and giving my views on climate change, I'm still going to attempt that course. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Farmers for Climate Action. It's a terrific organisation. I've been following you very closely and communicate with your CEO, Verity Morgan-Schmidt, on a somewhat regular basis about what's going on, in particular in the political realm. The political landscape is a very difficult situation at the moment, and it has been for a few years, as you're probably aware. The fact that we can't have bipartisan support for climate action is a major frustration, and I'm sure you're all aware of that, members of Parliament, especially in the big house, are really at loggerheads with each other about what to do, how to deal with energy policy, how to deal with climate action, how to deal with energy prices. All of these things are creating a somewhat of a stalemate, which I think is most unfortunate. The good news is that at the state level, it's completely opposite. The New South Wales government is very focused on climate action and very focused on renewable energy. And for those that read the Sydney Morning Herald, you would have noticed yesterday, New South Wales aims at zero emissions by the middle of this century. So there is a target being set by New South Wales, and there's many targets being set by other agencies such as DPI and LLS to make sure that the farmers are in the best position to deal with it. But the Ag Ministers met last year in Melbourne and put out a communique which supported working on climate adaptation. They had a communique covering off on change scenarios, current work on managing emissions, a stocktake of approaches to adaptation and proposed actions in a work program. And Minister Littleproud said, a forward-looking national strategy to handle change is always a sensible thing. I'm pleased with doing that and thank my State Agriculture Minister colleagues for coming on the journey with me. We need to help farmers adapt and change the climate changes to protect our food production, our rural jobs and our country towns. So very much put up front by the Minister last year, and unfortunately we've got another Ag Minister, and I'm not sure whether that's going to proceed, but certainly that was a really good meeting and a very strong commitment by all Ag Ministers. But I did mention New South Wales. The states have been doing the heavy lifting on renewable energy, as you're probably aware. New South Wales already has 13 wind farms and 13 solar farms, and major farms, of course, around the state. And they're producing enough energy to power around 1 million households and represent 5.25 million tonnes of emissions savings. But there's plenty more to come, with 105 large-scale energy projects either approved or seeking planning approval. And this represents about $26.5 billion of potential private sector investment, including the Snowy 2, which could deliver 2,000 megawatts of on-farm energy capacity. So As I mentioned, it's not all bad news. The states are certainly doing the heavy lifting, as they are in the United States, where the federal government is in policy lockdown, but the states are continuing on with their energy renewable projects, and I think it's terrific that one form of government in Australia is going full steam ahead, and I'm very proud of what New South Wales is doing in that space. I'm just going to go through a few of our property enterprise at home, and I think this might... where do I point? Oh, there we are. Whoops. We run a sheep enterprise at Holbrook. We've been, our family, my son has taken over the management of that and is running a very successful enterprise, and we're very proud of what he's doing. We have a 650 to 700 millimetre rainfall, and we run a all sheep prime lamb seed stock enterprise. The major breed we have are prime lines, some of the prime line ewes there, and which is our registered brand for maternal composites. So that makes up 60% of our flock, 30% made up of Dorsets and South Downs, and 10% made up of Hampshire Downs, which we've identified as being very heavy marbling sheep, and that's certainly been proved in the trials, meat trials we've had up to date. This is a photo that was taken yesterday of some of our shelter belts. We're really keen on having shelter belts, and we've got a long way to go. With advice from Holbrook Land Care and others, we are planning to do a lot more of this, but shelter belts are very much an important part of managing the property, and we are firm believers in their benefits. Our pastures are predominantly Phalaris and clover. That's not unusual in our part of the world. Highly sustainable, and if managed properly, always produce very heavy production. 15% of our pastures are finishing pastures such as lucerne and chicory and grazing oats. The sheep are constantly rotated. We're big users of containment areas and joining pens. All the ewes are joined in joining pens about 50 metres by 50 metres. And we have 120 odd paddocks, so we're always moving and rotating our stock to protect our ground cover and our percentage of vegetation on top of the ground. Because we're a stud operation, we have to have single mating, and we also lamb in very small mobs, a little bit bigger than that mob, but a few that I took yesterday, but I was really just wanted to emphasise our pastures. And we are working towards carbon neutrality, and some of our clients are already have plans to do that as well. This is just a photo of newer pastures taken in May this year, Phalaris pastures. We believe, as you all do, I presume, that ground cover is critical, not only for soil protection and an early germination. So we're not traditional regenerative farmers. Because of our stud operation, we have to rotate and run a number of flocks in paddocks, but the rotation is a very important part of the way we operate. So now to local land services. In this presentation, I'll be speaking about the way local land services works with people, you people, over 8 core services. Climate change doesn't sit within one box. It affects all areas of farming and community life. Being able to provide integrated services to our customers means that local land services is well equipped to helping people to adapt to new challenges and opportunities as it impacts on their life. Local land services works in partnership with the agricultural industry and farmers. The people of New South Wales are already experiencing the impact of long-term climate change, and it's one of the biggest challenges impacting on our natural resources and our sustainability of production. Projections indicate that areas of New South Wales are likely to face decreasing rainfall during the winter and spring months, but increased extreme rainfall at times, leading to intensity events, including flooding, increasing temperatures, fewer frosts, and harsher fire weather. Evidence suggests that these changes are already having an impact on agricultural productivity, water availability, soils and landscapes, as well as the spread of pests, weeds and disease. So we believe we're here when it matters. We have over 1,000 staff across the state who are all available to help farmers. That's our clear mission in life, is helping landholders and farmers. With the boots on the ground as the main link between government and farmers. We work closely with other agents, in particular DPI, through their research. We connect our customers to provide services, advice and networks. We help them to manage their risks, including climate change, with practical access to and knowledge of research findings, new and established knowledge. So in a nutshell, we believe it's our role to promote best management practice to farmers using the latest research and innovations to better understand climate change, lessen the effects and improve our capacity to adapt where necessary. As I mentioned, we're committed to helping farmers implement best management practice on farm. How do we do this? We use the latest research. We encourage innovation. We help people to prepare for and respond to and recover from emerging issues and emergencies, and maximise opportunities within the current environment. Using the latest research. We're not a research organisation. That function clearly belongs to DPI and universities and others. Our main role is making sure that people have access to the latest information coming out of that research and tailoring it for delivery on farm. We take the theoretical national level information and data and we tailor that for farm gate. At times we use our connections with the farming community to connect research and development bodies to farmers during the research and trial phases. In a sense, we partner with them, but our main role is tailor national research findings to address regional priorities and deliver those new findings locally via extension of best management practice on farm. In addition, most LLS regions develop climate change plans as part of a national NRM Regions initiative, funded in part by the Australian Government. And my own region of Murray has 5 different climate change plans operating and research projects operating at the moment. These plans build our known science, including climate modelling and regional ecosystem and agricultural resilience and potential impacts. As we work with farmers on an individual and local basis, I acknowledge the important role that FCA and NFF play enabling the agricultural industry to deliver climate initiatives and targets such as zero emissions by 2030. So with Climate and Pastures and Climate Extreme project, this is a project known as PACE, and it's happening right here in the Central Tablelands at the moment. Central Tablelands LLS is connecting local landholders with the PACE research program being run by the University of Western Sydney and funded by the Meat and Livestock Australia and Dairy Australia. PACE will offer the grazing and dairy industries new ways to proactively manage the impacts of climate change and extreme events on the feed base that underpins their success. This project is stress testing different combination of plant species, including combinations of C3 temperate and C4 tropical grasses and legumes by exposing them to increased or reduced rainfall, increased temperatures drought or periodic flooding, or any number of other scenarios. Linked by Central Tablelands LLS, PACE researchers, postgraduates and students visited the Central Tablelands to learn about multi-species pastures, pasture and livestock management at the whole farm scale, and to hear farmers' concerns about pasture sustainability. PACE researchers presented a seminar on their current work and early results to landholders in Oberon. Encouraging innovation, we also encourage people to implement best management practice on farm by using a range of new and innovative methods and projects happening around the state. For example, Central West Local Land Services have the ADAPT project. It's for people wanting to adapt to changes in climate and markets. The project gives mixed farming producers and advisors the skills and knowledge to meet those challenges head on. This is a 4-year project which was launched late last year to help people make objective decisions and implement improved technologies on the farm systems. Our staff have run and will continue to run a variety of training sessions, including workshops, field days, podcasts and on-farm trials by demonstrations. Introductory workshops have been held in 12 locations across the Central West region and attracted more than 200 people. They surveyed managers about their level of knowledge and areas that they were interested in, as well as completing carbon life cycle assessments on 6 properties. The very successful Carbon for Profit conference, and I know a number of you would have been there, which I'll speak about later, is part of this project. If you're in the Central West and would like to be part of the project, please contact our office or Nerily Brennan, who I believe will be here today, who is able to help. The ADAPT project is funded by the Australian Government. Life cycle assessments. They're essential in Australia to canola farmers being able to continue trading in the European Union biodiesel market. The European Union requires a 60% greenhouse gas saving compared to fossil fuels for biofuels entering the EU transportation fuel market. Data from the life cycle assessment done by the CSIRO in 2017 enabled continued access. This may become a requirement for other industries and markets in the future. As part of the ADAPT project, we've been working with a number of growers in New South Wales DPI to do life cycle assessments for greenhouse gas emissions for different production systems in our region. This is the process of assessing environmental impacts of a production system at each stage of the production process. In this case, greenhouse gas emissions were assessed were water use, release of nutrients to the environment, and fossil fuel demand. LCAs are generally conducted from cradle to grave, but in this case we focused on cradle to farm gate. The LCAs conducted in this project have looked at the change of emissions from a change in practice, such as changing from flood irrigation to drip irrigation. LCAs can be very useful to a business or industry for a number of reasons, including being able to access a specific market. Of course, climate change is not all about inland issues. Over the next 4 years, Hunter LLS will help oyster farmers become more resilient and improve their farm businesses through the Climate Ready Aquaculture program. This is a $1 million project funded by the Australian Government NLP program, and we're working with oyster farmers, researchers and the local community to improve habitats such as oyster reefs, seagrass beds, and to adopt innovation to support climate change adaptation. Oyster farmers are able to access farm planning and incentive programs to assist their businesses to prepare for and adapt to climate change. We've helped oyster growers adapt to their businesses by developing farm profiles which are like farm property plans, except growers have on-water leases instead of paddocks. Growers identify opportunities to adapt to such things as changing from fixed intertidal production on tarred hardwood sticks to cultivate single seed oysters in meshed bags or baskets with small grants assisted from LLS. Using floating bags and baskets enable oyster farmers to be more responsive and resilient to changing climate conditions, reduce tar use and reduce the financial costs of waste disposal. As well as being better for the environment, these modern growing methods help the farmers produce a premium oyster that meets market preferences for shape and ease of opening that generally achieves a higher farm gate price. In addition to what's been happening in the latest in best managed in practice, there are tried and true methods that enable land managers to be more productive and sustainable. There's a wide range of projects, training, one-on-one to assist happening every day in every part of the state. Implementing best practice. This is one of the oldest practices, I guess, that we're looking at when we're talking about best practices, and that is using minimum tillage systems, stubble retention, whatever, looking after the soils. And we assist farmers and give advice on these minimum tillage systems to protect the soils through better management. And you'll be all familiar with that. Certainly not a new process, but still very important, and as part of our work. Establishing stock management areas or containment areas is a very important project to us during the current drought, and as conditions continue to worsen, we're really keen to promote the use of containment areas and to fund wherever we can through the RAA assistance measures, the use of stock management areas. For example, in the Riverina, 150 landholders have attended various training workshops. 72 landholders have signed agreements over the last 12 months covering approximately 20,000 hectares of land under agreement in order to maintain over 70% ground cover. So a really important initiative in the current drought circumstances. Ecosystem management understanding. This enables people to recognise natural patterns and processes in the landscape and work with them to promote the health and recovery of landscapes and habitats. Landholders in the Western region, that's the Western Division of New South Wales, have used EMU to restore areas which have suffered from degradation and erosion. Measures such as diversion banks, contour furrowing, water ponding and mesh filters can be used to rejuvenate landscapes, and this has been a terrific take-up and probably one of the harshest areas of the state and one of the most difficult ecosystems to try and manage. Apart from all the pressure from kangaroos, these people are really committing themselves to doing whatever they can. And of course, feral animal management programs, all part of protecting our properties and our environment, and we work with groups, organisations and individual farmers. Emergency management is absolutely critical. As climate change continues, one of our roles is supporting the preparation, response and recovery from the aftermath of natural emergencies, storms, floods, bushfires and of course drought. Climate change has increased biosecurity risks as habitats change. Our staff have been responsible, together with DPI, for a number of initiatives in this space, including the inland flooding in the west of New South Wales in 2016, the locust plague of 2015, the bushfires, including the big bushfires, there's been so many, but Sir Ivan fire in 2017, the Tingha and Tabulum fires of last summer, and of course the current fires at the moment. Really critical, and LLS are there with DPI as first respondents to assist farmers in any way they can. And we need to demonstrate that even the smallest things can have the biggest impact. We responded to the red imported fire ant incursion, which was, came off a container near Botany, and the yellow crazy ants in the last 12 months up on the north coast. So there's a lot of things going on in that emergency space. And of course, in the drought space, and I won't go through all of the detail, you can see it there, but we assist farmers to access the $1.8 billion emergency drought relief package from the New South Wales government. Our staff are on the ground to interface with farmers and to make sure that they're in the best place to access whatever support they need. We're also dealing with livestock welfare, which unfortunately is becoming a critical issue on a number of properties, and we're there to assist farmers through that process. But there are also other things, mental health initiatives such as the Cuppa morning tea connections, which have been going on in a number of areas of the state on a very regular basis, Canamble once a week, and other areas. So in any way possible, we're trying to connect with farmers and to assist them through this very difficult time. We're also working agri-skill partnerships with TAFE and DPI Rural Resilience Program to assist. So although our staff have been stretched, I for one are really proud of the work that they're doing and continue to do in this very difficult time. And maximising opportunities. Farmers are uniquely placed to use carbon sequestration to both improve their farm productivity and access emerging carbon markets, and you'll hear more about that today. As we work with landholders across the region, we're seeing that many carbon farming techniques are consistent with sustainable agriculture best management practices. These practices not only increase natural carbon capture, but they can lead to long-term improvements in farm efficiencies and productivity. And one of the projects in my region, the Murray Wetland Carbon Storage Project, had tremendous results. Freshwater wetlands can sequester 20 to 40 times more carbon than forests. Under the Murray Wetland Carbon Storage Project, landholders rehabilitated 23 wetlands spanning 4,000 hectares, which will offset 140,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide over 10 years. The carbon capture is worth approximately $3 million based on carbon prices in 2016. And research in Victoria has shown that 530,000 hectares of inland wetland, making up 2.3% of the state's land area, holds 68 million tonnes of carbon, worth about $6 billion under Australia's most recent carbon price. And I reference Dr. Paul Carnell from Deakin University's Blue Carbon Laboratory. And then I did mention the very successful conference that we held in June this year. We are absolutely committed as LLS to engage with farmers. We're extremely proud to be involved in this conference and to support FCA. As in many instances of agriculture, we do have the staff and we do have the footprint on the ground to assist, whether it's getting research on the ground, whether it's getting personal assistance to farmers. We believe that's our place and our space, and we're very keen to do that as often as we can. And the Forum Conference was just part of the Central West Initiative, which was very well attended, as you're probably aware. And finally, I do have a short video, and I think I've got 2.5 minutes left. Thank you, Gab. If we could just run this. It's a bit of an unashamedly LLS promotion, but it does give a little bit of a highlight of what we're about and what we do. So if you could bear with us. Thank you very much for that opportunity to talk a little bit about LLS. I'm sure if you want any more information, I'll be very happy to talk to you during the day, and there's lots of LLS people here. But it's been great to be part of today's proceeding. Congratulations, FCA. I'm right behind everything you're doing and look forward to doing lots more in the future. Thank you.